All right. Well, we're
Hey,
live.
hey, Danny,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about Scientology and the Leah Remini series on Netflix? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I've watched all of it, which you know. So
What do you think of it? Is it good?
yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. So Brandon's bringing this up right now because he's slightly making fun of me a little bit
No,
because
we were just talking about that Melissa is going on a pilgrimage to Clearwater.
oh yeah, well you better
She's
be
going to
careful
visit the
for the
church.
Scientologists. Those are some shady peoples.
Oh, we're going to
Shady
get our
people.
podcast shut down.
No, I think that
So we
I
have
only
another
watched the whole
documentary to
thing.
watch,
Wait, which documentary?
Going Clear.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
an HBO
who
documentary
did
series.
it?
HBO.
HBO did it.
It's
Oh.
really, really good.
So is HBO anti-Scientology now,
Well,
or
I
is it
mean,
more performative?
now would you say that someone who creates a documentary about Scientology is automatically anti-Scientology? You know,
100%.
because I'm sure that you could find a couple
100%.
documentaries out there that are very pro Scientology. But no, Going Clear doesn't really speak very highly
Yeah,
of Scientology.
You can
I find that
find pro
good.
Scientology documentaries produced by Golden Era Productions.
Which is
Sounds about
owned
right.
by Scientology. So
Melissa's
let's all
very
just
quiet
change
all of a sudden.
roles.
Are we making you
I
nervous?
no, I literally don't know enough about the topic to even comment, but I'm sure if my husband was here, he would have a whole slew of things to say. I won't get into it. Like I'm just like, no, I'm gonna go read a book. Night.
It's fascinating. I find things like this really interesting because of the layers upon layers upon layers of things that are a part of the organization. So anything, and I don't care if it's Scientology or what it is, but anything that has this process of like pulling back different layers to start exposing levels. And I find that so fascinating because one, like it takes a lot of it takes somebody who's really intelligent to put something like that together and to have the kind of impact that it's had. But it also takes up somebody who's like really messed up for that many people to like really anchor onto something. I don't know. I just find it. I love murder mysteries too, though. So
What's the
kind of
Steve
like,
Jobs quote? Only people crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who actually do it.
yeah. I
It
just find
can
that
go either
whole
way
thing
here.
fascinating. Yeah.
Well, this is a
Okay.
nice little intro back in. We haven't
Yeah,
seen each
missed
Intro
you
other or
back
guys.
talked to
It's
each other
been
in
a
a few
long
weeks,
time. I know.
and it's right into Scientology. Apparently,
Right
something
into it.
happened during the break. Someone went clear.
Somebody went clear. Well, welcome back from your Thanksgiving break. We've been off a few weeks, heads down, working on all kinds of things.
Yeah, we've been busy.
Really busy.
It's been a busy time. I want to just real quick for today's call, I do want to talk about the Thanksgiving box office real quick as a quick intro, and then springboard that into a topic that we were all an integral part of, and what's happening in the movie theater and exhibition space with the Save Our Cinemas project we were on. So I'm gonna just jump in. The Croods 2, Thanksgiving weekend, did more at the box office opening weekend than Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
Wow.
Is that a sign of things to come?
I think it's
think
very
people-
positive.
I would hope so. Or, the cruise is just mad popular and I didn't realize.
I think it just goes to show you though that people are hitting a point where families are ready to get back out. Like people just want affordable entertainment that isn't in their living room.
It's fair. I understand that
That's
completely.
what movies are. We can't travel right now. We're confined to like limited activities and limited spaces, and something's got to give.
So
I
movie
think
theaters are still, for the most part, pretty much closed and closing around the country. And people are still venturing out and finding theaters that are open. getting out on a holiday weekend with family to go see a family movie. I will preface that the original Croods, released in 2013, did $43 million at the box office opening weekend.
Great improvement for them.
So
Now, did that one go on demand as well? Or is it just in theaters right now? Was it like
the
same day?
Croods,
Just
Yeah.
in theaters, I believe.
short
Right?
window. I think it's 17 days, but don't quote me on that. Somebody look it up. Don't we have a producer? Oh yeah, all of us.
Yeah, we're all producing.
We are producing.
Wait, what am I looking up?
I don't know if Croods
What was
2
the
went-
window? Croods 2 window.
Croods 2 window for VOD.
I'm on it.
Did anybody else watch anything exciting over the holiday break, or have you guys been to a movie theater yet in Michigan?
No, they're still not open. They were only open for a few
Never
weeks.
got open.
They were for a few weeks, but then they closed quickly after. So they're still closed right now.
Yeah, basically they opened second week of October, and then it was probably only 4 or 5 weeks, if that.
Yeah. But Wonder Woman, I mean, how do we feel about that? Anyone have any positive, negative? It seems like the vibe in the industry is positive and that people are going to be showing it and that they're okay with the way that it is opening. And if people don't know who are listening, it's opening on HBO Max and in theaters same day.
Well, to follow up with my production task,
yes.
it looks like the Croods 2 should be potentially opening December 13th VOD.
It was a 17-day window.
Mm-hmm.
I think that theaters, this is just my opinion, so please push back if you disagree.
That's what we're here for.
Yep. I think that theaters are positive about Wonder Woman right now because they have to be.
That's
I don't
right.
think they're voluntarily positive. Like, I think in a perfect world, movie theaters would be open and Wonder Woman would be across the country on giant screens for people to enjoy. But I think movie theaters are hurting so badly right now that you can only be positive about getting Wonder Woman on Christmas. Like, it's like you can't be mad about it because you need it so much.
Well, it could have went straight to VOD too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's what
And
I'm saying.
also-
You can't be mad at it. You can't be mad that you're getting it right now because you need it. You know,
Right.
you need new, exciting content that people have been really looking forward to in theaters because theaters are hurting.
Yeah, and I think that this also could potentially open up that doorway for, more people to, if they're not ready to go back to a full audience experience, this should hopefully at least give people a reason to go do a private rental or some sort of event for, people that they know.
I can't imagine seeing Wonder Woman on my living room TV. Like,
Not for the first time. No way.
No, like, I am not the kind of person that can handle that well, like will handle that well. Because Wonder Woman is one of those movies where I'm like, I need it on a big screen. I want my seat to be vibrating because it's so loud, because I feel like I'm in the action. It's just this larger than life genre that I can't imagine just, cranking up on my TV. I'd feel the same way about a Marvel movie. Those are just films that I will always go see them in a movie theater because that's the way they should be seen.
speaking of
Yeah.
a Marvel movie, can I just chime in with, I did not like Thor Ragnarok at all.
Wait, what?
I thought it was bad. I thought it was, yeah, I know. People are going to not like me after saying that.
Ike is going to show up at your front door.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know if it was too tongue in cheek, like too much humor, but I just did not love.
I'm a huge fan of Taika and I love his humor. I love his playfulness.
Yeah,
And I
Jojo Rabbit was so
actually-
good.
Do what?
Jojo Rabbit was so good.
Oh my God. That was
But
so
see,
good.
I didn't like Jojo Rabbit either because
Oh,
I get the
I
uncomfortable
loved it.
feeling. I'm like one of those people that's just like, I'm so like, I don't know.
I love
You're
it. I
too
love
empathetic.
the irreverence because I feel like, so I just said like, I love the irreverence, but I think he's like, he holds like this reverence to what he's doing. So it's okay because I feel safe laughing at his jokes. Like in JoJo, it's normally something like Hitler's not something you joke about. It's just not, it's a really tough topic. And in that movie, there are things that happen like JoJo's mom, you know, there are things that happen that you're like, oh, like really give you a gut punch. But I feel like it's okay for me to laugh through the film because of the way he's positioned it. Because you're like, this is so ridiculous, but you are like feeling your way through it, because then you start thinking about, well, how else is a kid going to possibly like make any sense of what he's being taught when it comes to, you know, the Holocaust, or like what I'm sure kids had to go through in a Hitler-led Germany at the time. Like, of course they're going to use their imagination. Of course they're going to have issues processing. And like, so showcasing that in a way like he did with JoJo, I thought was so brilliant. Because I'm like, oh, like I can somehow get it now. Like I can
Gotcha.
step into that space.
So we're going to shift gears since we got our quick movie talk out of the way. And Scott, I think you hit on something that's really important. How do people go safely go see Wonder Woman at Christmas time? And what is making the movie theaters that are still open? What's keeping them open, and what's making them successful? And private auditorium rentals are certainly a part of that. So this team was fortunate enough to be able to participate in a project that was led by the National Association of Theater Owners called Save Your Cinemas, in an effort to become part of the Save Your Stages Act. And as a quick follow-up to that, I saw yesterday that Senator Chuck Schumer has been applauded by NATO for supporting Save Your Cinema in the Save Your Stages Act. And if you don't know what that is, please take a Google and find out how you can support both Save Your Stages and Save Your Cinema. This is an effort led by our trade association to get stimulus for movie theaters. And what we did was the Independent Cinema Alliance sent over a video of Save Your Stages and just candidly asked what I thought of it. So I gave them some real feedback on it, about the production of it and how I thought we could make something that was really impactful for our industry. And we got the opportunity to actually pitch the project to NATO, and they greenlit it right away. And in a matter of days, we were out filming in Brooklyn and Maryland and San Jose and Pasadena and in Little Granbury, Texas. And we had some great exhibitors that were willing to participate and really share their story. And Scott was kind of the forefront of this in pulling all this content together and editing down a piece that was, let's see, we had 5 different subjects, right, Scott? And we had 45 minutes of footage with each one, and we came away with a 3-minute piece.
Yeah.
So
And there was multiple
tell us a
cuts.
little bit about, yes.
There was
tell us a
multiple
little bit
cuts.
about your experience with it.
Well, I mean, it was definitely a challenging experience. I think the first thing that was uniquely challenging was each of these exhibitors really gave a really great backstory about how they got into the industry, why they love it, how it's been affecting them professionally and personally. And the tough thing was being able to cut together a time efficient video that didn't feel like it was leaving anything out, because these stories were so moving in a way. So you had all these different backgrounds of exhibitors and how they got into the game, and so it was really sorting through a lot of the best stuff. And unfortunately, like a lot of things that we really wanted to be able to put into it, had to be left on the cutting room floor because there just wasn't time. So we're hoping that eventually we can include some of those some more of those interviews here and expand upon them, because they really have some great stories to tell.
Yeah, and we've had Paul Gunsky and Rich Daughtridge on the podcast before to share some of their stories. And it would be great actually to go through and bring each one of these exhibitors back on. So we talked to Moctesuma Esparza from Maya Cinemas. It's based in Pasadena, and they have 7 locations, I think 88 screens or something like that. Then we talked to Paul Gunsky of CineLux theaters up in San Jose. I think they have 57 screens in 6 locations. We talked to Jeff and Jamie Benson of Cinergy Entertainment, based in Dallas. And they have 7 locations and I think 77 screens. Rich Daughtridge, who has 1 location, Warehouse Cinemas, up in Maryland with 10 screens. And then Emelyn Stuart, who, and I'm only doing this going West Coast to East Coast for whatever reason in my brain. Emelyn has 1 screen in 1 location called Stuart Cinema in Brooklyn, New York. They were great.
Mm-hmm.
They were all just fascinating people with real stories to share about their experiences, about their love for movies, but also really their love for bringing movies to their communities.
Yeah, it was really, really great. You know, we actually had the opportunity to, talk to Paul Gunsky a few times. Like you said, he's been on the podcast and we recorded a few episodes and we got to kind of be a fly on the wall for those conversations. But yeah, it was a really unique experience, getting all of the different stories and the different backgrounds. But yeah, I really think that the piece came together pretty well. It's been getting a pretty good response too. I think I think there's over 4,000 views at the moment on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, on just YouTube, and then it's been shared all over social, LinkedIn. I mean, it's literally tens of thousands of views, if not over 100,000, and the impressions are unbelievable. Speaking marketing speak, and it was played, distributed throughout Washington D.C. to get support for this very important inclusion and stimulus. I found a couple things challenging, and I'm sure you did too, Scott. And Melissa has played referee on several conversations for us. So Melissa, thank you for that. As we were vying
my job.
as we were vying for the piece, anytime you create a visual medium like this, it's, the piece kind of that you write, the piece that you film, and then the piece that you edit. So, and in this case, we also had a client, NATO, who had a piece that they wanted delivered. So that's why the variations. Just from a pure, the piece that we delivered, which I think is great, very impactful, lots of heart to it. But it is amazing to get those just 2 or 3 sound bites out of each person. I mean, we really had to talk through a lot of different things. I mean, the footage that we have in an archive right now, and I mean, literally, I was sitting across from Moctesuma and hearing his experiences, and because he builds theaters in underserved markets, what these theaters mean to him personally and those communities. I mean, literally a couple times we both were tearing up listening to this. It was that impactful. And Paul Gunsky, when he was talking through something, and I went up to San Jose to film that piece as well. And I invited his wife, who's also the CFO, talk about, a family run business here. And she literally says, "I can't come up, I'm crying." That's the emotion that was driven in those rooms. It was incredible.
And I mean, not just in those rooms, but in the room I'm sitting in right now, my little editing bay, it was a hard piece to get through. I mean, we're all so personally involved in this industry. And yeah, it was particularly difficult for me, mainly because, I had to dig into my own archive of footage, which I also should give a shout out to the people who helped me film some of the stuff, over the years, which is, some alumni at the Motion Picture Institute of Michigan, which is where I went to school. Some footage that we had shot was shot from our contacts at Screen Vision. So yeah, big thanks to those people for helping provide some of that footage back in the day that I was able to now repurpose and put a little emotional connection to. But yeah, it was particularly difficult just because you can't help but go down memory lane, knowing that that was, my job at one point, and it's not anymore. And it was really hard to kind of get through a lot of that. To try to craft a message that would motivate people who are not in this industry to go and take action. You had to kind of, cut your wrists and bleed on the project for a little bit. And that's what I had to do. It was tough.
And there's a couple different people who we want to take action. Everybody listening here, certainly, we want you to reach out to your congressmen and women and call and send emails. And then also, it's not the job of our government to pick industries to win or lose. We've got to provide why this industry in particular is important to our country and to our society and to culture, without picking winners and losers. And that's what you get a lot of times, especially on the federal level, is that, we don't want to pick winners and losers. But this, going to the movies, is more important than just, somebody's business. And what was on the line, and what is still on the line, and what will be on the line in 2021 is, for the most part, movie theaters in your town are independent, small, and family-owned businesses. These are, for the most part. Now, the number of locations may be the bigger 3 or 4 exhibitors out there, but the number of companies that actually own movie theaters, in large part, is independent, small, and family-owned businesses. This is generational. These are generational companies, and to see some of them shutter, and that's why we put so much into this on our part. And again, this was done as kind of a volunteer production. I mean, certainly production costs were covered, but we took a lot of this upon ourselves to deliver this. And I do want to take a moment, Scott, and thank you for the effort that you put in, the long hours and cutting through this, and really recognizing that there was a piece you wanted to cut, and then there's a piece that we needed to deliver, and you did a phenomenal job. And even though, again, a lot of people don't know the guy behind the curtain, you are the guy behind the curtain. So thank you so much. And you did just an outstanding job. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity. Like, it's good to feel like you still have energy that you can put forward into a good arena, something that's actually going to do some good. And so giving me that opportunity was, for me, it gave me, something good to do with the energy that I had all pent up.
Did you feel the pressure of $5 billion? Because
I did.
That's pretty much what we were asking.
Yeah, and it was funny because when we were doing the interview with Paul, you kind of gave him that little line of motivation, like, "Oh, don't worry, Paul. It's only a $5 billion industry on the line." But then I was like, "Wait, he's only one of 5 exhibitors being questioned, and I have to put this together. So it's kind of resting on my shoulders." So thanks for really upping the stakes for me.
And
I think it helps.
As we pull the curtain back a little bit, it's also, again, just the challenges of making the piece. Again, we were filming in 5 different locations across the country. We came back from one shoot, and footage was completely unusable. So we had to figure out how to go reshoot, which the audio was great and the answers were great. And I don't want to say which piece it was for whoever's listening, but it was literally an unusable segment. So we had to figure out how to get another crew to a remote location, and actually, well, this will give it away internally, but so Scott and I were in 2 different locations, and we Zoom directed this thing. So another, not only limited budget, in a different location, 2 different locations. I think I don't even know where I was that day, but I was traveling that day. I think it was in New York. And then dealing with the pandemic. So all of these factors are going in, and we needed to turn this thing in a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
So literally we had to figure it out. And I had Danielle Googling production companies in that area to find, and she helped us secure the shooter.
This is 100% true. Fun story. Brandon and I were like frantically like Googling together and looking. We ended up calling the same production studio, and 2 different people contacted us each back. And then it wasn't until we like
they made a referral.
One guy was like, "Oh, I need to put you in touch with this other person." And then that other person was like, "Wait a minute. I just talked to somebody. Is this the same thing?" And we're like, "Wait, did you call?"
Yes.
Because we're both trying to just figure it out on the fly.
I think that was a Friday afternoon and we were going to a screening or something. Anyway, but so that's a little bit of the behind the scenes. Scott, was there in all the footage you looked at that has not made it out publicly, is there a particular piece of footage that you want to comment on or kind of tell the story of?
I mean, not quite. I mean, not an individual call out, I would say. I would say that all of Esparza's comments were amazing. He's one of those people. Maybe you can tell from the few seconds you get to see him in the video that his voice and the way that he speaks just demands your attention. You can tell that he comes from a place of knowledge, and it felt like I wanted to hear every story in the world told through his words. He has a very commanding way of speaking. So I definitely would like to expand that interview for sure, because his whole interview was gold, and we only got to use probably like 15 seconds of it, and we've got 40 minutes just sitting in the archive.
And so not that we got lucky, because we shot that in Pasadena in October. It was a beautiful day. We shot it outside at his house, and but he's a guy who has been in a fight before, and he's a civil rights activist. He's produced movies. So it was interesting when we set up for that shoot, he was actually more interested in the setup and the production and how we were doing it. And, I gave him, we did a quick little pre-production right before we went on, and he was literally like, I got that part. Like he knows when he goes on camera. And it was all business. Out when the camera wasn't on, it was all business,
definitely not his
getting
first
things
rodeo.
set up. Yeah. And again, for something like this, and it's great to have a guy like that in our industry, because he's fought before. I mean, like truly fought for things that have mattered. And he believes, I think like we all do, that movie theaters are something worth fighting for.
They are. They absolutely are. So I guess we got a few minutes left here. So one thing that I really liked hearing about his story in particular was, he gave a little bit of, background to his film production career. He'd worked on Selena, and what was the other Robert Redford picture they had worked on? I forget. He said it. But anyways, when they were looking around for markets to screen it, that's when he realized that there were a bunch of underserved communities that just didn't even have first run movie theaters or second run movie theaters. And so that's when he realized that this was an untapped market, and he got his heels in and has been able to make a really big impact in those communities that they serve. So it just goes to show that I think it kind of goes to show that while we all come from exhibition, it also comes from that origination of we all just love movies. And that's his story. He started in the movies and then got into exhibition. I think we all kind of have, similar paths maybe of how we got here.
The one thing I
for
wanted
sure.
to chime in with about this video was that I did share it with, on my social media, And there's a lot of people who don't work in this industry that don't understand that most movie theater chains, again, maybe not the bigs, are family owned. And I felt like it was a good opportunity to let people know that these are family owned businesses that have maybe been in families for hundreds of years or even less, and how important they are to the communities. And I felt like that was just such a huge piece of this. And I felt that emotion when I watched it. But yeah, for the behind the curtain, for people who don't know, don't shoot video. Yeah. What do you shoot? Like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 hours of video for a minute sometimes for these.
It depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these, you know, we would get one take answers and not really nurse it the way that you would if you were running a real documentary crew or something. But yeah, we've got a whole backlog of footage that I'm excited to release through this channel, because I think these stories absolutely need to be told. But I think since we are running out of time here, why don't we I'll just put the video right on the end of this podcast. So if you haven't seen the Save Your Cinema video, we will include it right here. You can take a little bit of time and go to saveyourcinema.com, and they will basically reach out and send a drafted email to your specific congressperson on your behalf to save your cinema.
And if you're listening and not watching this, we'll put it in the show notes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, here
Thanks
it is.
for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Great job, y'all. Thank you so much. And thanks for listening.